What's going on, everybody? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac, back at it with another fantasy football video. Today we're going to be talking about wide receivers that could help you win your league in the final weeks of this championship season. Some wide receivers that may have been a little slept on to start the season. They may not have gotten off to a hot start, but now look poised to be those wide receiver ones in their offense and could take over and help you win the fantasy championship. Before we get into it, though, if you guys could go down and give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment. So you guys have any questions, please let me know. I want to help you guys all out. And subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. With that, guys, let's hop right into it with our first wide receiver. So the first player I want to talk about is Amari Cooper. And I think the play on Amari Cooper is fairly obvious. So for one, Amari Cooper, a very talented wide receiver, somebody who gets it done year in and year out. This year so far with Jacoby Brissett, arguably one of the worst quarterbacks in the entire NFL, if not the worst. He is the wide receiver 8 in standard scoring and PPR scoring. 800 yards and 7 touchdowns so far this year, 93 targets as well. So he's getting it done in the parameter of targets as well as the end zone and yards. He's pretty much a do-it-all type guy. And he's had some bust games this year, yes, but he's also had a ton of boom games. 8 receptions, 7 receptions, 27 points, and 13 points over the last 2 games. The game before that, 5 points. So yes, again, he does have dud games. But what we're looking for here is the upside. You want those players who can win you your week. And yes, they may lose you your week in the championship. But if these players pop, you want to be able to win your week. You don't want to have a guy like Amari Cooper sitting on the bench. And I'm not saying you would bench him, but you don't want to have a guy like Amari Cooper sitting on the bench saying, oh my God, I wish I started him. He dropped 30. I only started Keenan Allen, who dropped me a nice 13 points, but I needed the 30 ball. Furthermore, obviously, he's getting Deshaun Watson back. This is a no-brainer here. Deshaun Watson could upgrade the quarterback position from being a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL to potentially a top 5 quarterback in the NFL for Amari Cooper. And they play the Saints and the Commanders. And they play the Saints and the Commanders. The Saints historically do not really have a good defense this year. Actually, it's pretty bad. The only thing is, they're in such a bad division that it makes the Saints defense look a little better when in reality, the Saints defense has been downright horrible this year. And they play the Commanders, who actually do have a good defense. But Deshaun Watson is known for extending plays. And the main strength of the Commanders' defense is their front seven. They just have a nasty pass rush. But we most likely will still see Amari Cooper succeed in this game, especially still with Deshaun Watson. But anyways, that's it for Amari Cooper. Let's move on to our next player. The next guy I want to talk about, a guy that has kind of exploded onto the scene in recent weeks, getting touchdowns in back-to-back games, is Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin looks like, honestly, a bust to start the season. But we saw the underlying stats. He was getting targets on targets every single game. Right now he's averaging a little bit under 10 targets a game. Factoring in his week 1 performance where he only got 3 targets because he only played 31% of snaps due to his injury. But now he's having a lot more success with those snaps, looks a lot more comfortable after his ACL tear, finally getting back and getting under his feet again. 8 receptions... 8 targets, 6 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown week 10. And then week 12, he had a bye week 11. But then week 12, 12 receptions on 13 targets, 110 yards, and a touchdown. He looks like that go-to guy for Tom Brady right now. He is the wide receiver 27 in PPR, despite missing 2 games and playing injured in the third and also only having 2 touchdowns this year. I think Chris Godwin is going to stay on his ascension path for this championship week because of the upside he has going for him. This is a guy who was the wide receiver 2, despite playing only 14 games in 2019. It's clear he has the ability. It's clear he has the quarterback. So really all we need from Chris Godwin is more great performances, but I think we will see it, especially considering he's playing the Cardinals in week 16, who do not have a good defense at all, and then the Carolina Panthers, who, just are not a good team. They're borderline dysfunctional at this point. Just wanted to interrupt real quick to say, if you guys could, go give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment, and subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. I will be linking a video somewhere up here if you guys want to check it out on the biggest wide receiver bust of this season. So if you guys are interested, go click the link right up here. Now we get into the rookies, and I'll start with the rookie that I consider the sneakiest first, and then go from sneakiest to probably the most obvious rookie to dominate and help you out for the end of your season. So first again is the sneakiest guy. I'm talking about Jameson Williams, and I really can't go off any games because he hasn't played a single game, and his status is uncertain for this Sunday as of 5 hours ago. But if the draft capital, if the college talent is anything to go off of for Jameson Williams, we should be absolutely fine. First and foremost, he comes into an offense with Amon-Ra St. Brown, so we know he's not going to be getting a cornerback one coverage to start. There's also DeAndre Swift they have to worry about in the pass game. But other than that, Jameson Williams should slot right in. I'm imagining he will take the job from DJ Chark pretty quickly, although DJ Chark is a good wide receiver. He's also 34 years old, so Jameson Williams should be taking this job fairly quick. And when he does, I think the number 12 overall pick in the NFL draft, a pick that the Lions traded up to get. They clearly really like him. I mean, I think he could honestly be a potential league winner here in the same vein that Amon-Ra St. Brown was last year. I mean, especially because he's not going to be drawing cornerback one coverage. Jared Goff is at least a fine quarterback. I mean, not a great quarterback, but he gets the job done under this, I mean, just absolutely amazing O-line. So that's why I think Jameson Williams is kind of the sneakiest option because, I mean, mainly he hasn't played a game yet this season. But once he does, will potentially help your team to win a championship. The next guy I want to talk about, a little bit less sneaky, but still a tiny bit sneaky, is Treylon Burks. And Treylon Burks has started his ascension over the last 2 games, maybe a little bit more subtle than a guy like Christian Watson, who I'll be getting to in a second, but still a great ascension. He hasn't a touchdown in any of those games, which is why it looks a little sneaky, but I mean, 15 fantasy points in both games. Finally starting to get the snap percentages that we like to see, getting 67% of snaps in the last game. And the targets have been there. I mean, 6 targets, 8 targets, 6 targets. That's almost 7 targets a game for a guy in a run-first offense despite not playing all the snaps. And I think something like that points to a very high targets per route run for Treylon Burks, which is a very indicative stat of talent. I mean, clearly Treylon Burks has the talent. He was selected 18th in the NFL draft. So, I mean, clearly the Titans like him. They have a plan for him, especially when you factor in that Treylon Burks was the A.J. Brown type of mold that they really like in a wide receiver, and we see how good A.J. Brown is. Now, I'm not saying Treylon Burks is going to be A.J. Brown, but if he's 50% of A.J. Brown, that's pretty good for your championship weekend. Week 16 is really good for Treylon Burks. Week 17, not so much. Week 16, they are going up against the Texans. It's the Texans, enough said. But then week 17, they play the Dallas Cowboys, so it might be a little bit painful in your actual championship. But in that first Week 16 game, I mean, you're going to be getting a ton of production out of Treylon Burks, almost guaranteed. Now, the next rookie, the rookie I was hinting at a little bit before, it's Christian Watson. And Christian Watson has been a touchdown machine so far when given the opportunity this season. 6 touchdowns in 3 games. I don't know too many other first-year wide receivers who can do something like that, and has been getting the yardage as well. I mean, he has one dud game where he only has 48 yards, but has 110 and 107 yards. In 2 of his last 3 games, is getting the target volume as well, 8 targets, 6 targets, 6 targets, so the exact same as Treylon Burks, a little under 7 targets a game. It is a little bit concerning considering Romeo Doubs may be coming back, but Christian Watson does look to be the X factor in this offense, the wide receiver 1 that they need. I mean, especially considering Christian Watson's the wide receiver 28 despite playing 9 games, and despite most of those 9 games being hampered or barely being on the field at all. Yes, he's the wide receiver, 47 in PPR, so I am fishing for data a tiny bit here. 6 touchdowns and like 85 yards a game in your past 3 games. It's hard not to really be excited about a guy like Christian Watson. He's somebody who can catch a deep ball threat and win you a week at any time by scoring 12 fantasy points from a 60-yard touchdown, as we've seen him do over the last 3 weeks. They play Miami and Minnesota in week 16 and 17 as well. Miami, a team prone to shootouts, not a great defense, but a phenomenal offense. In Minnesota, I think it's easy to say the same thing. Minnesota ranks around 27th in overall passing defense, so I'm really not too worried about Christian Watson's matchups for the championship week. He does have a bye week 14, which is a little annoying, but this week he is playing the Chicago Bears, another team prone to shootouts, so I think Christian Watson is an extremely valuable player for this playoffs. Now, the last guy I want to talk about, a guy you are probably starting if you have him, just because he's that good. I mean, I guess same thing with Christian Watson and potentially Treylon Burks, depending on your lineup. But you are almost definitely starting Chris Olave here. I mean, Chris Olave, despite it being his rookie year and despite having Andy Dalton as his quarterback, has been a phenomenal wide receiver. And also, despite only having 3 touchdowns. I mean, this year, he's a wide receiver 15 in standard and PPR with 92 total targets and 56 receptions for 800 yards and 3 touchdowns. This is a guy who's on pace for over 1,100 yards despite it being his rookie year. And we've seen the level of target volume he's had. Despite missing a game with a concussion, he is still 12th in total targets. Furthermore, he has a 27% team target share, which is very indicative and promising for a wide receiver this young. I mean, it almost puts him into the same type of category with the Jamar Chases, with the Justin Jeffersons, and while he is not there quite yet or quite as good, I mean, he also doesn't have the same type of quarterback. I don't think anybody is comparing Andy Dalton to Kirk Cousins or Joe Burrow, and yet he is still dominating. Well, he doesn't maybe have the elite upside because of the quarterback. He still has a very, very elite floor in fantasy, and he also does have at least some pretty good upside because of his deep ball prowess. I mean, you see Andy Dalton take shots with him once or twice a game. Sometimes it doesn't work out because, again, it's Andy Dalton. But Chris Olave gets it done in both the short, intermediate, and long game. I think he just looks like a really, really good wide receiver. And just a side note for Dynasty, if you have him, hold on to this man. He looks like he could be another great wide receiver in a line of absolutely phenomenal wide receivers coming into the NFL right now. But I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, go give this video a like. Again, I'm answering every single comment. So if you guys have any questions, please, please, please let me know. And subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on. Have a good day, a good night, and a good life.